The night was already halfway gone when a single set of headlights cut through the rain-soaked road, revealing something that should never have been there. A woman lay motionless near a wrecked patrol car, her uniform darkened with blood, her badge barely catching the light. Most people would have driven past, too afraid, too late, too unsure. But this was the moment that would change everything. This was the moment a single father named Daniel Carter unknowingly stepped into a story that would shake an entire police force to its core. Before the story goes any further, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and ordinary people doing extraordinary things, take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, subscribe to the channel, and tell us in the comments where you're watching from. Daniel Carter wasn't a hero by profession. He was a warehouse supervisor, exhausted most days, surviving one paycheck at a time, while raising his 8-year-old daughter Emily alone, after losing his wife years earlier. That night he had worked late, his body heavy with fatigue, his mind already worrying about whether Emily had finished her homework before falling asleep on the couch. The storm was fierce, the road empty, and his only thought was getting home safely. Then he saw the broken patrol car angled into the ditch, lights dead, rain washing over shattered glass like tears that never stopped falling. As he stepped out into the cold, his heart dropped when he realized the officer beside the car was barely breathing. The female officer was young, but worn in a way that spoke of long nights and harder choices. Her name, though Daniel didn't know it yet, was Officer Rebecca Lawson. She had responded to a call about a stolen vehicle linked to an armed suspect. Backup had been delayed. The chase had ended violently, and the suspect had fled into the darkness, leaving her broken and bleeding on the side of the road. Every second Daniel stood there, the rain soaked through his jacket, his hands trembling as he pressed down to slow the bleeding the only way he knew how. He called for help, shouting into the storm, dialing emergency services again and again, as if volume alone could keep her alive. Minutes felt like hours. Daniel stayed kneeling in the mud, ignoring the cold, ignoring the fear creeping into his chest. All he could think about was Emily. If he walked away now, if he chose fear over action, what kind of example would that set for the little girl who believed her dad could fix anything? When Officer Lawson's breathing faltered, something inside him broke open. He talked to her even though she couldn't answer, reminding her to hold on, reminding himself why he couldn't let go. When the sirens finally pierced the night, relief came mixed with dread. Paramedics rushed in, police lights flooded the road, and suddenly Daniel was surrounded by uniforms, radios crackling, questions flying. He stepped back slowly, hands raised, his clothes soaked in blood that wasn't his own. Some officers looked at him with suspicion, others with shock. A single dad alone at a crime scene, with a critically injured officer, wasn't something they saw every day. He worried about Emily waiting at home, about how late it was getting, about whether she would wake up and wonder why her dad wasn't there. Yet through all of it, he never once regretted stopping. Hours later, a senior detective walked into the room with a different expression on his face. Hospital updates had come in. The doctor said Rebecca had survived because someone had acted quickly enough to slow the bleeding before help arrived. That someone was Daniel. Security footage from nearby traffic cameras confirmed his story. The suspicion faded, replaced by something else. Quiet respect. Word spread fast through the department. Officers who had trained with Rebecca, laughed with her, trusted her with their lives, began asking about the man who found her. They expected a former medic, maybe an off-duty officer. Not a tired single father who had simply refused to drive past a stranger in need. When Rebecca finally regained consciousness days later, weak but alive, the first thing she asked was about the man who stayed with her in the rain. She remembered fragments, headlights, a voice telling her to hold on, warmth in the cold. As Rebecca recovered, the story reached the media, but not in the way Daniel wanted. He didn't see himself as brave. He felt guilty for not doing more, haunted by how close she had come to dying in his arms. Meanwhile, the police force was changed by the realization that their own had been saved by someone with no badge, no training, no obligation, just compassion. Officers started stopping by Daniel's modest home, some to thank him, others just to see the man behind the headline. Emily watched from the doorway, confused but proud, sensing that her dad had done something important, even if she didn't fully understand it yet. Months later, Officer Rebecca Lawson returned to duty. The day she walked back into the precinct, applause filled the halls. But she didn't head to her locker first. She asked for Daniel. When they finally met again, the gratitude in her eyes said more than words ever could. Two lives, once strangers, now permanently connected by a single night and a single choice. The police force honored Daniel quietly, not with medals or cameras, but with something deeper, a renewed respect for the community they served. Training sessions began to include his story, a reminder that courage doesn't always wear a uniform. For Daniel, life went on much the same. He still worked long hours, still packed Emily's lunches, still worried about bills. But something inside him had changed. He carried the knowledge that when the moment came, he had chosen humanity over fear. Just before this story ends, take a moment and comment one word that describes how this story made you feel. Near the end of Rebecca's recovery, Daniel stood watching his daughter play in the yard, realizing that the example he had set that night would echo far beyond a single rescue. He hadn't saved a cop. He had simply refused to let another human being die alone. And in doing so, he reminded an entire police force, and everyone who hears this story, that heroes are often just ordinary people who stop when everyone else keeps driving. If this story touched your heart, moved you, or reminded you of the good still left in the world, please like, comment, and share this video so more people can feel the same hope you felt today.